In financial analysis, we must consider a variety of items on the income statement, balance sheets, and cash flows, right? But one that stands out within these items is the earnings per share or the EPS. And if you are an investor, EPS is the most critical figure to examine as it is used in a PE ratio. PE ratio? Yes, PE ratio helps us in understanding the worth of the business. And in fact, there are two types of EPS, the basic EPS and the diluted EPS. Which one is more important and is used by the investor? Any idea? Hi all, my name is Dheeraj from WallStreetMojo.com, and in today's video we'll learn all about diluted EPS, what it is, how it is calculated, and how it is used. So let's get started. So before we get into the detailed discussion of diluted EPS, first and foremost, I would like you to get an intuitive understanding of what it means. So for that, I would like you to look at this 10K earnings per share data from Colgate-Palmolive. Now, we have 3 years of data, 2021, 2020 and 2019. Okay, and when you look at this earnings per share or the EPS data closely, we are provided with two kinds of EPS. One is the basic EPS and the other one is the diluted EPS. So if you are new to the basic EPS or the earnings per share overall concept, then please refer to our video earlier which we have made as a comprehensive video discussing all of these concepts. But let's assume that you know what basic EPS is, and let's see how the calculation goes. This is the net income 2166 and the total number of shares outstanding is 845, so what we get is 2.56. Now visually, if you look at what's the difference between basic EPS and the second one, that's the diluted EPS, is it in the numerator? No. Is it in the denominator? Of course yes, because we see that there is something that's called as a stock options and restricted stock units that have been added to the denominator. So essentially the denominator increases from 845 to 848.3, thereby reducing your EPS, and that's why it's called as a diluted EPS. So the difference between the basic EPS and diluted EPS comes primarily from the capital structure of the company. Okay, and the capital structure of the company can be divided basically into two parts. The first one is the simple capital structure, and that consists of common shares or the ordinary shares and the preferred shareholders as well. Okay, so that is called as a simple capital structure. The second one is the complex capital structure. So the complex capital structure not only has this common shares and preferred shares, but it also has things like stock options, restricted stock units, and convertible debts. So these securities which I have added here, stock options, restricted stock units and convertible debts, they essentially lead to formation of more number of shares over a period of time, and that leads to the dilution. So let us look at stock options here. So stock options are the options which the company gives to its employees. All right, so it allows the employees to basically purchase the stock of the company at a price which is lower than the prevailing market price. So essentially this technique is used by many companies to retain their top employees for the long run, but the overall effect on the number of shares is that when they exercise their options, the total number of shares will increase. So likewise, think of restricted stock units. Restricted stock units are nothing but actual shares which will be given to the employees if they stay in the company for certain period of time. All right. Next comes the convertible debt. So in convertible debt, what happens is that this form of debt can convert into actual shares at a predetermined price. So when it happens, the overall number of shares will increase, right? So that again leads to dilution. So essentially, when your capital structure is complex, you will have an existence of diluted EPS. But when you have a capital structure which is only simple, then your basic EPS and diluted EPS will be one and the same, because there won't be an effect of stock options and restricted stock units and convertible debts altogether. So now let us look at the formula of diluted EPS. So let's look at the numerator first. Net income minus preferred dividends. So this remains same, all right, for the basic EPS as well as for the diluted EPS, both of them remains the same. In the denominator, there's only one change. The change is that first is the weighted average number of shares, that remains the same, but the change is that you need to add any conversion that happens because of stock options or restricted stock units or convertible debts into the denominator. So that's the only change. So once you add this up, you will get a higher number from the total number of shares outstanding point of view, and this will result in a diluted EPS. Let us now look at a very basic example of diluted EPS calculations. So here we have this good incorporated company who has provided us with the data of 2021. So we have this net income as $450,000, weighted average number of shares outstanding is 50,000, preferred stock dividends is 50,000, and in the money employee stock options is $5,000. So we are expected to calculate the diluted earnings per share. Okay, so let's first calculate the basic EPS. What is the basic EPS? Basic EPS is nothing but net income minus preferred dividends divided by the shares outstanding, right? So this comes out to be net income $450,000 minus $50,000 as the preferred stock dividends. So the numerator is $400,000, and this total divided by your total shares outstanding, that is 50,000, right? So we get the basic EPS as 8.00, right? So let's calculate the diluted EPS now. The formula for diluted EPS in this case will be net income minus preferred dividends divided by your shares outstanding, and since we have only one dilutive security, that is in the money stock options, so we'll write this as stock options, okay, dilution. So let's calculate that. Here the numerator will remain the same, $450,000 minus $50,000, and divided by your shares outstanding, that is 50,000, and we need to add the effect of dilution as well, that is 5,000. Okay, so we get this as 55,000 as the denominator. So the total diluted EPS will be 7.3, or that is 7.27. Okay, so this is how your diluted EPS can be calculated. So as a quick note, I just wanted to tell you that the formula that we have learned is not fully robust, and there are certain limitations of the formula that we essentially used. So what I meant was that as an analyst, if you're using it, there would be certain adjustments that you are expected to do. So think of convertible debts, for example. When you look at convertible debts, so in the denominator, you might want to add the number of shares because of the convertible debt, but because of that, you might be saving the interest, right? So you have to adjust the numerator as well. So these small adjustments I haven't discussed yet. Likewise, how do we calculate the in the money stock options? So if there are 100 stock options, out of which how many are in the money? So you basically use treasury stock method to do that. We haven't discussed that here yet. Okay, so that's the limitation of this whole calculations. Another thing is that if there is something called as a convertible preferred shares. So convertible preferred shares are different from preferred shares. These convertible preferred shares would mean that they might convert into actual common shares. So if that happens, then how the adjustment happens, right? There would be two effects. One is that in the numerator, you would like to add back the dividends which are there, and in the denominator, it will lead to the additional number of shares altogether. We haven't discussed that yet. So likewise, there is this concept of anti-dilutive securities. So all the things which we have discussed right now, it can lead to increase in EPS as well. So if that happens, you don't consider that in the calculations. Okay, so we didn't discuss that too. So here, this is a very basic example which we have taken, and all the advanced adjustments have not been taken yet. This is the limitation of the whole discussion altogether. I hope you found this video to be useful. Please do like and share. And if you have any feedback or want to suggest a topic for any future videos, then you may do so by writing about it in the comments section. Also, we come up with interesting videos on finance and accounting topics regularly. So if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, then please do so by clicking on the subscribe button so that you can get the notification as soon as we release the new video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.